tonight's goals and what we definitely want to get done is just review just a quick snippet of what we've done in the past, just from a quick touch up if you haven't done it yet. But we want to concentrate tonight into building templates and building scout cards with some stock fronts that just provide resources for not only yourself, but other members on staff that can utilize what you've learned throughout these seminars and being able to take this and make it applicable to your workflow and what you're doing every day. And then lastly, we want to do a pro quick draw demo, but it's going to be different from the other demos. Want to kind of make it more towards a typical workday and just different ideas instead of just showing you what it does, kind of take you through a little bit of a process with a half field drill. But for going off with the starters, one of the things is if you've done a great job and built your stencils, you know, one of the things is that if you get those stencils from somebody, finding out where they live. Well, number one is making sure that they're saved within the documents folder of your computer. And then within that, if you've got Visio, there's going to be a section called My Shapes. Well, just make sure that your shapes are saved in this general area right here in this folder. And then you can send different stencils and shapes to different coaches on staff and be able to help each other out. And essentially, you want unified drawings and having things look the same through every document you have, not knowing which coach is drawing. One of the things that we talked about last week was also floating your stencils. So if I pull up the PQD defense and then I right click and go float window, well, now I can move that down here at the bottom, and now I've got these access to these shapes. Now I can go to my shapes and add another, such as my PQD offense. So now I've got both my offense and defensive shapes here. And then if I just widen out that window, it gives me a little bit less. So now I can really utilize bringing those shapes in quickly and getting a chance to look at more than just one set of blocks. So that to me is a really good nugget to start with. We also discussed last week creating your own football ribbon, essentially using all the tools that you use on a day-to-day basis. Instead of flipping back between the home and the view button and design, create your own football tab, so that way you've got your text area, your drawing tools, and then your adjustments all in one. But also your drawing tool isn't just one box. So if you need a reminder for that, if you go to File and then Options, there's a button down here for your customized ribbon. Well, then you can create a new tab and then groups within that and rename them. And then you just want to add and remove essentially the commands from the left to the right. And if you can't find the command you're looking for, choose that drop down for all commands, and you may find a couple other that you didn't know existed. So just really good reminders right there as we get started. So now in terms of the templates that we're going to build today, we're going to start with just a simple one-up. And the way our terminology works, an up is how many drawings are on the paper. Well, this is a one-up with text. So I first want to start with grabbing my line tool and essentially start the perimeter of your drawing. You want to give yourself a nice frame. And it's not just for looks. It has a big difference too in terms of just making that shape to where now if I hold that control and drag key, I can click it down and go control 6 again and get that line. Well, when we start trying to adjust using our distribute horizontal and vertical, you want to make sure that that's not actually a rectangle. You want to make sure it's an individual shape, so that way you can click it. So now I've got my one-up area. So now I essentially don't want to split it directly in half, because you want to create 11 boxes down here for all 11 guys on defense. So now once I want to do that, just drop in your line, and then you're going to leave this area up top as kind of your title section. And now down below, you want to start increasing and dropping those lines in. And I'm not going to create all 11 because just from a timing standpoint, but you can see once I add those, well, now this is my top line. And then now I've got the others down here at the bottom. And now I just want to go up to my position, distribute vertically. Well, now I know that I've got even boxes across the top. Now I'm going to go to control 6 and start creating in my dividers. So my defensive player in position is going to live on the left side of the screen. My next area is going to be alignment, assignment, and then key. So essentially, if you wanted to start creating more of those, you're just dropping these in. Well, now I want to make sure that I've got these boxes on this side are even, whereas my position player may be a little bit bigger. So I just want to start by left clicking here and then highlight everybody else down the road, and then make sure you grab that outside framework, because now we're going to distribute these horizontally. So as I go horizontal, it's dropped those in. Well, now I can go Control 2 and I drop in my text box and I go position. Now you just want to make that adjustment right here to make your text box fit directly in there, and then hold Control, click and drag and adjust it to where your blue line matches right here. Well, now you've got alignment. Control 1 gets me back out. Now I'm just going to hold down the Control, click and drag, and if you've got your snap function checked, it's going to automatically kick it to those lines. So the reminder for that is go to View and then Visual Aids. Make sure snap has a check mark, but definitely get rid of the glue button. That will piss you off right there. So I want to go alignment, assignment, key, and then maybe just a miscellaneous note so a player could take notes in there. Now I just want to grab another text box. So from here I can adjust it and make sure that it fits within. Now I'm holding down that Control key to click and drag, or you can go the copy paste method, whichever you prefer. And you're just dropping those in. Well, now you've got your positions. So you may go rush end. You've got your tackle. You've got your nose. And then you got your nickel, whoever it is that you want to drop. Now the next thing is you just want to start building out the rest of those text boxes. So if I just drop in text right here, well, now you can just start adjusting this, and then you would align those guys properly as well. So that way you're just dragging and dropping. And then essentially you would create what we like to just show you is just a nice little box here in terms of, I'm just going to delete everybody and then paste in essentially that final product and what that should look like. And that way you can see that you've got all your little text boxes here with your alignment, your key, your run responsibility, and then your notes. So just making sure that you do a really good job of getting those alignments and those variations correctly and just dropping in that text box. I've seen so many different people where all these boxes are different sizes because each time they just go up and they grab a rectangle tool and then they drop that in there, and next thing you know, you've got shapes everywhere. And just keep it clean by using your align and position tools. So that's template number 1. And that's just our one-up text. So now you've got your drawing area left up here. Next up, we essentially want to create a 2-up with just a simple formation drawing in here up top and then in the middle. So I'm essentially going to just want to copy and paste everything because I know my framework from the outside from before is going to have those shapes in there. So now, once I've got my top and my bottom, you're not necessarily adjusting your drawings off the top line because now it's the whole page rather than going off the formation. So just going off that naked eye, you just want to drop one in here in the middle, Control 1, and then grab the bottom line, the middle line, and then the top line, and then you go to Position, Distribute Vertically. So now your boxes are perfectly even instead of just being off that top line. So just a little thing right there that you probably won't notice, but it's just one less thing to make it clean. So now I'm going to just drop.
Hey, Kevin, right there.
Yep.
A question, is there an align or a position shortcut?
I don't know of one, but if you go to, when you click the align button and then you hit the C key for center or the M key for middle, you can drop it in like that. The position one, once you click position, it's either V or H for your horizontal and vertical. Okay. So now, once you've got that, well, I'm just going to drop in a nice little play box up here. So I'm going to go play and then a nice little colon, Control 1, and then I want to kick that over to the left. So there's my play area. And then whatever you do up top, you immediately want to do to the bottom because you want to keep those things uniform. So now if you've got a field drawing from another document or anything like that, or if you wanted to draw it from scratch, you would be able to do so just from a timing standpoint. I'm not necessarily going to draw a whole field for you, but just want to give you an example of what it would look like. So I took this from another document and then I sent it, and then just make sure you bring your play up top to the front by Control-Shift-F. So that way that black line sits on the top. So now you've got your field drawing in here, and then I'm just clicking and dragging. And now I can drop that in down below as well. So now if you need to make notes or your drawings, you can leave the players in or do what you want. But as you're going, you just want to take that field and then make sure that you just start knocking out a new stencil essentially group, a new stencil group called your new templates. So I go save as. I'm just going to call this web temps. And now if I ever need that field again, well, I can just drag and drop it right there. So that way, if you wanted to use this for another stencil or another drawing, you would essentially just take that same field and then shrink it by proportion. And then now you can utilize that. And now the only other thing you need to do is shrink your text boxes, your font, so that way those guys end up going back to vertical. And then now you've got yourself a little template that you can use for a 4-up or an 8-up or whatever it is that you want to do. So utilizing that nugget of just resizing it off the corner can be very helpful. All right, so let's get that thing back right where it was. And that's why you save it as a stencil. If something happens, you've got it right there to where you can create that. So now I've got my 2-up with field. Well, now we want to start getting into the more boxes. So essentially, I want to start creating my 6-up. So I'm just going to add that page, and I'm going to go right back here, grab my framework, paste it in. So now I've got my formations. Just going to start deleting these objects. And then once you start making your 4-ups and your 6-up, those are really simple if you start using that distribute horizontal vertical one. So now it's the same thing. I'm going right off that top line. And then if you click and drag and you know that you're only grabbing the horizontal lines, you can start to increase that. So now it's 1, 2, and then 3. Position H kicks it horizontal. And then now I can go Control A, Control C, drag and drop this over. And now you got yourself a 6-up. And then down here at the bottom, I'll label this 6-up as well. Hit your plus sign. Well, now you want your 6-up with a field on it. Now you can paste what you had previously, bring that master field over, and then you can either shrink it by the half, whatever that is that you want, however you want it to look, or you can shrink it up from proportion. Okay, so let me drop that in. Now I can slide that down and then Control-Shift-U to ungroup it. Delete out those extra lines, and now all I'm doing is just clicking and dragging and adjusting that to fit down in the center. So now you got yourself a little field, and then you could copy and paste that and move it into each of those 6 boxes and fix your text box right there as well. So you get the idea. I just don't want to do the repetition for that. So there's my 6-up field. And then if you've also got the high school field that we gave you, that drawing is actually a little bit more form-fitting for these landscape boxes. Or if you've got the college or the NFL field as well, you just want to copy and then paste that into the 6-up box right here. And then that's actually going to make it look a little bit more cleaner than the one that was just a little bit wider. So now I can make my adjustment, bring that down, and then I can slide it and make it fit. Well, now if I just drag and drop, well, now you got your high school field here as well. So now if I want 6 of those on my drawing, just drag it, and then make sure when you drag those that you keep it on the same horizontal and vertical plane, so that way your drawing looks just as good with all those 6-ups. Well, there's my 6-up with field, and then you can hand draw these. So this is where it becomes really helpful for the other members of your staff. If you're going to be a guy that's going to draw in Visio, you're set up really good. But now if you can take this and reproduce it and get it to an older coach who's crusty and wants to draw by hand still, you're at least giving them one little thing that you can then create to help make their life a little bit easier. So that way they don't have to put BN or BN, BH or whatever it is for the bottom of the numbers. It's more of a visual, and it definitely helps your players out even more.
Hey, Kevin.
Yes, sir.
Question. Here's the question. I've put the field behind and sent to back. But when I copy the play, how do I take the play in the field to make a template?
If you've just sent it to the back, you should be able to take the field with it as well. So as long as you copy everything in it. Now, if you've locked it like we have in the past, then you need to unlock that layer essentially by going to your layer properties and making sure that the field is unchecked. I hope that answers it. Also, you may have a field that's grouped in together. So essentially, if these two fields were together and they were grouped, and if I had a play on here or anything that was a diagram, well, now when I go to copy this play, the only thing it's actually grabbing is that 3-2 hook and not the entire field. So you just want to make sure that you don't have that grouping set for that object, and maybe that might be it, Coach.
You got your answer, Coach. He said he had it locked, and so he'll unlock it.
Perfect. Awesome. All right, so now I've got my 6 up with the field. Well, now I'm just going to start creating my 8 up, and then it's the same process. So go back and grab your 6 up field, Control-A, Control-C, drop it in, hold down Control, grab this line, move it up, and then you just start knocking out your objects again, so position vertical. So now I've got my 8 up. Okay, and then the last one we're going to kick out is just a 10 up box, but now I'm going to add a nice little title field to it as well. So once I've got my 8 here, you've got your top box. We'll hold down, we'll go to position, distribute vertical. Well, now let's say that you want to insert a title that sits up here and it's uniform. So essentially the trick is to kick your line across, and you want to make that line match your text box. So once I drop in my text box, go Control-1 and then adjust that to where it fits that whole box and it's either centered or off to the left. And then you can make sure that you match that form. And all I did right there was I clicked my title. I went Control-Shift-P for Format Painter. And then as soon as I clicked on this box, it took the properties of my text box up top. And then I used Control-Shift-Left caret arrow to adjust that text size. Well, now once you've got that, you essentially want to make sure that your text line is the same with all the others. So just a simple little trick is to drop in that line, grab your text, grab the vertical line, and grab the horizontal line. Now you hold down Control and you just drag and drop that to each of those areas to make sure that you got that line directly in place. And now you're right back in the same boat that all of your boxes are the exact same size and your text box matches the rest of your drawings. Then you just want to grab all 5 text, kick it over, hold Control, click and drag, make sure that you're aligned up top and you're in the center. And then looks good to me. So now I've got myself a nice little 10 up with a text box, and we just put with T. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different templates that we built in probably 10 minutes of just utilizing that Control-H or your alignment and your position tool and being able to kick that in.
Hey, Kevin, couple questions here.
Yep, go ahead.
With the field box, could you write the play underneath the field?
Yeah.
That's a question.
Or wherever you want to design it. So if I go up here, going back to my 2 up, I think, is you just drag that text box to where it fits down below and then just move your field up. And then hope that answers.
And then this may be the same, but a follow-up, or create a designated area for the athlete to write the formation in which they are going up against as a note section. Pretty much the same.
This is a really good one for tests and quizzes. So essentially, if you've just got that play and that formation, you essentially just want to either make a copy of that entire play and essentially delete out your quizzes, or delete out the area, or you can just drop in another text box over the top of it and then tell your players to write in what the play is. And you can kind of use a couple different parameters to help with that. Or you can create your entire play as a layer and start adding your defensive guys in there as a layer as well. So now, once you start working with those layers and the different opportunities you have, well, I can get a basic football shape, And essentially, if I just wanted to drop my defense on here, well, my defense is an actual layer. So if I go to layer and assign, well, I can create a new layer called defense. And then once I have that, if you're getting ready to print this off as a quiz and you want your players to write them in, essentially, you go to layer properties, and then right here you can hit hide. Where is it? Visible. And then when you make that visible and hit apply, those guys go away. You go file, print, and now you haven't really done anything to your drawings as long as you do that work on the front end. And then just start carrying it over. That's a simple little process for you.
Kevin, one more. Can you go over the layers again? I want to be able to put a play on the field without accidentally grabbing the field each time.
Yep. All right, so I've got the field here. So essentially what I want to do is, well, once I've got that field, I'm going to take these players and just back them out a little bit. I want to highlight the entire field, and that's one object essentially now. Now, if you go up to layers and assign layer, you're selecting all of these objects, and now I want to create a new layer called the field. Once I've selected that and there's a check mark in the box, I can hit OK. Go to layers, layer property, and now on the field selection, you choose the lock button, apply, and hit OK. And now, no matter where you move your objects, you cannot click that field. So now, once I got my drawing in here, now it's just a matter of bringing these guys to the front, drop your quarterback back. So now I want to create just a simple little formation. So boom, there it is. I just need the back in the backfield. Okay, so now if I never ever needed to click anything, I didn't necessarily have to grab it. So now I can go Control-6, and if you just want to draw, a nice little dig concept, boom, Control-1. I can go Control-7. This is going to get my shallow cross. Okay, you may go with a post on the backside, post vert. So Control-6, boom. Boom, post, and then on the outside release down here, Control-7 to get that arc tool. Zoom in just a hair, kick it going vertical. Well, now I need to adjust those shapes, and I want those to be blue lines with that arrow. Control-Shift-P, click, Control-Shift-P, click, Control-Shift-P, click, and then what's nice is you'll never turn your hash marks into an arrow as well using that method. So there's your little 46 special concept that you created. So utilizing that lock feature on that layer is very helpful.
All right, you're rolling.
Okay. So we've got all of our templates essentially created that we're going to use as a staff. You can drop in your logos or anything like that. Well, once I'm done with those templates, you got your playbook installed. Well, now you start moving towards the scout card process. So I'm just going to add in a new sheet. And then from a scout card perspective, if you're special teams, you'll work with a vertical card just as a key piece of advice for kickoff and kickoff return. Anything else, you typically want to use a landscape card. So now what I'm going to do is just create a simple basic card that you can use to where you're going to fully draw in everything. So the first thing I want to do is just create that box going around the outside. But after that, I want to make sure that my design and orientation is set to landscape. And the reason that I always used a box or a line like that around the outside was to just keep a nice framework. If you give coaches room to draw on a sheet, they'll take that line all the way to the edge of the paper and it just looks sloppy. So now if I go to my line options, it's going to kick that out. I can make a nice little border, make sure it's squared off the edges, and then I just want to make sure that my fill for the shape, so if I go to my football tools, fill, no fill, Control-1. So now I've got the basis for my card. Well, down below, I'm going to go Control-2, gets my text box, and I'm going to drop in a text box and go play on offense. And then now I'm just going to adjust that in the bottom right-hand corner. So you don't necessarily want to take up too much room with your text boxes. And then the other thing I like to do is essentially just drop in a line right there so that way the coach knows where he's drawing and where that line is every time. Once that's done, you just come over here, and now you go to your defensive call. You take the same length of line, zoom in, hold down the control, drag and drop it right there where it needs to go. There's your offense and defensive call down at the bottom. Create yourself an area right here for your play number. So there's my play number. You're even across the board, so you got a good little spot. Now up top, you essentially want to keep the same thing, but now you're just going to start adding in that down distance formation or down distance yard line information. So you got your D&D, and then up here you can make that just a little bit shorter. It doesn't need to be too long. You've got your YL for the yard line. And then now over here on the right side, you may just put in a practice period. And then once again, if that thing ends up being too long, just drag that out, and now you've got your practice period. So here's a nice little easy to make, just a nice uniform scout card for everybody to be able to use, and it just stays the same throughout the season. So now, you know, typically what we did in the office was we printed off a ton of these and just dropped them on the countertop, and then whenever anybody needed to draw their scout card, they would just grab and go. Now, once you start making that, well, now you can start to get a little bit more advanced for some of those coaches. So that's my scout card basic. Well, now I'm going to take the same exact scout card, and now I just want to start dropping in just little formations to help with my guys. So I'm just going to drop in the formation, Control-Shift-U to ungroup it. And then the first thing that I'm going to do is delete out the quarterback and then all the skill players. Now you just want to increase your offensive line. Okay, and since that's centered up, well, I want to make sure that that's towards the bottom centered in the page. So all I'm doing is creating my lines on the outside. So now I can go to left line. I'm sorry. Let me group this. So you go to the left line, you click the center, you click the right guy, and then you've got your position, distribute horizontal. So now you know that's in the center. And then you can drag that towards the bottom. So now, next step, print off a ton of these so that way they're in the office, and then it's one less process for whoever's drawing those cards to have to draw that circle, because coaches haven't drawn a proper square since 1970 or something like that. So just give your guys a little bit of a tool right there. And then one of the things that we used to do as well was essentially we had a stack of stickers in the office. So now essentially if I just needed to create a doubles formation, I dropped in a red circle, and that's what I used for our receivers. So now anytime I needed to align those receivers, we'd drop them right there. And then it was the same thing with my backs. Backs were green, tight ends were blue. So you just pop those stickers in. Quarterback was a black one. And then we had tailback was green. And then we had blue for the tight end as well. So now it's just an easy visual, and then you can kind of start putting down your formations really quickly using stickers. Or if you're a guy that's going to draw on Visio, well, now you start putting, you know, bottom of the numbers. So now on your run cards, you're starting to give those guys just a little bit more of a notification as to where they are. H, he's on the hash. You know, you've got the Nash on the right side. Then he may be on the top of the numbers. So now you can start using different ideas like that. And now you just start adding these guys back to your repertoire over here. So if I go more shapes, my shapes, and scout, it's open in another file I got somewhere. So now you can just go ahead and start creating your scout card template. So now if you know that you're going to draw your scout cards every day and keep them uniform, get your template up there rolling. So now I know that I can drop this in here. That's my wide receiver. There's my running back. Quarterback. Tight end. So now anytime you need those, it's just the same. You're dragging and dropping right there on the card. So being able to create different things like this to help those guys and keep them drawn, and it just makes such a big difference. Now, the next great thing is if you need a scout card for Skelly, go ahead and put the hash marks in different lines on there as well. So now, as I create that new card, I can go Control A, Control C, copy it in, and then I can delete out those characters. Well, now I'm going to go right back to that web template, and then I'm going to grab more of that horizontal field that I had. Now I can make this stretch. Control Shift U to delink that. Kick that all the way out to the side, and then now you just want to move your numbers up, make sure that they're aligned properly as well, and then you can increase that font. And then go Control Shift P, click that right there, or you can just make that change. So that was 14. Control Shift, Control Shift, Control Shift. Choose that one, choose this one, go to Align Middle, and then select that line, choose your numbers, Align Middle. And then now you can either delete those guys out. So now you've got yourself a little printout for your scout cards that you're going to use for your Skelly. So just being able to utilize that is something that can definitely help you in terms of just quickly drawing and just making it uniform for your players. It's all about trying to get this stuff in quick so that that way they've got good material and can work off of it. All right, so there's my scout card for passing. Now, going back to our offensive line drawing. So one of the things that I think is really good is essentially being able to take that front 7 from your basic football shapes. So I drag that in, and I'm just going to increase the size, so that way I've got this. Okay, I'm going to stretch it out just a hair. So now what I'm going to do is go Control Shift U and ungroup that. Now I'm going to delete out my corner and my free safety, and essentially you're just going to draw your box. So that way on your run cards, you can start utilizing these objects. And now anytime that you know that you need a card for an over front or your 4-3 front, start creating them as stencils as well. So now you've got your 40 strong or your 4-3 look. I'm going to shrink those guys just a hair. Okay, so now I've got my card, and then make sure that those guys are aligned to the top. So that way, if you look at your practice script, you can pre-build these. So that way, if that guy still wants to draw by hand, well, now you can start just creating these little templates for him and yourself. So now I've got my 4-3 look. Then I can adjust him, and now I've got my 4-3 shade, 43 shade. Okay, and now I want to start creating just a nice little 3-4 look. So align the center. Okay, change my tackle to the jack. He's outside. Sam's outside. Mike is head up the guard. So then there's my 34 look. Dragging that in. Okay, and then you can start coming in here, and now you build out your under. So you get your 2-eye. Got your 5. Put the Will outside, adjust your Mike and stack him in the Sam. Bring back in the T for your 3 technique. And then you've got your rush. Well, now you've got yourself a little under front as well. So now, instead of, if you're not comfortable drawing in Visio, just go ahead and create those cards, file, print, and now you can draw by hand, or you can use that pen tool during your meetings. So now you can discuss that with your players in the pen, and just say, hey, we're going to focus on this guy. If he's inside, we're going to scoop up, work up to the mic. So just little things like that you can now kind of start to create just a little grease board for yourself and going, hey, all right, well, that's what we're going to do versus the underfront. Well, now if they give us this look, this is how we're going to block it. So you can kind of get yourself a little different couple things going. And if you've got a surface right there, take an HDMI cable, link it up to that computer and use that pen tool and just start writing in as you're going through. making your meetings a little bit more digital, easier to see, and then that way you can clear it out. So just different ideas right there in terms of just building out your basic fronts and what you want to do with it. So now going up here, we've got our scout sheet. We've got that. The next thing I want to do is essentially create just a nice little run hit chart. So I'm going to go right back into my folder here. Let's see. I've got, all right, we're going to change the design, going back to the orientation, make it portrait. Okay, so one of the things that we did was a hit chart at Georgia Tech was just, essentially creating 6 boxes per play. And the reason for that is, well, now I can start to essentially build this out with no fill. Actually, you know what, I'm going to go just like we always do it. So here, match it up top. And so essentially what we do is we've got our title up here as the team we're playing and the opponent. And then you start making yourself that hit chart going down the bottom. So now on the inside lane, this is where the actual run play name was and the number of attempts and different times that it occurred. Then I want to start creating boxes on the inside. 3. Whoop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then this will create 6. So I've got my top line. We'll grab those middles, grab the top, bottom as well. Go to position, distribute vertical. Now I'm going to go drop one on the inside right here. And the reason for this is, well, now I can start getting myself just a couple more drawings inside if I'm just going to draw the front 7. Position, distribute horizontally. And now on the back side right here, I can drop in that box. So now I'm just going to essentially put in just a little run hit chart. So now I've got my run hit chart up top. Well, now from my stencil, I just essentially want to bring in just the offensive line aspect right here. So now I want to drop that in the center and then bring those 3 over as well. Now I can start creating these boxes and dropping them in each one. And if you take your time and you do it right, you make sure that everybody's aligned properly. So there's my runs. And then now up top, these two boxes up top, you start putting in your play name, your number of fronts, the number of odds, the different aspects right here that are going to allow you to just start drawing out, hey, when it's odd front, this is what 36 G solid looks like. So now one of the things that we did for Pelt was just essentially we printed this document off and then he would write in everything. So now it gives yourself just different chances from a staff to really evaluate the run blocks and taking these. And then at the end of the day, you can copy and paste this and save it as its own file and essentially in a Pro Quick Draw format. And now you've got your run hit chart that you're essentially creating and just little documents that you're using for your staff every Sunday when they're going through and doing your film evaluation. So just thinking of different, items in here. You've got odd, you've got over. Under. So now you're just creating that run hit chart for your guys to utilize. Well, now once you've got that, now you go right back to your basic shapes. And then you can start using your offensive shapes here. Let me see. Here it is. All right. So now you just want to start creating that odd defensive look. So I'm going to drop back into my basic shapes. I've got my full defense. I'll drop that in right there. Move this up. Control Shift U. Okay. Got your Will, got your Mike, got your Sam. So now essentially, I'm just going to start creating a new stencil over here that I'm going to start utilizing for my run hit chart every week. So that way, as you build this out and the weeks go on, you're not having to reinvent that wheel. So as you notice, everything you do has definitely got to involve your shortcuts and your stencils to become really efficient in terms of drawing. So now once you've got those, you go back and you utilize your offensive shapes. So in that way, if you've got a zone or a power scheme or anything like that, well, now you're just dragging and dropping. You've got your combo working up. You've got your zone going left. All right. You've got your scoops on the backside. And then that's how they're going to block it versus the odd front. Well, you got your same thing in here, right? We need to go back and add your front to your run hit chart. There's my odd. Well, now I'm just going to drop in my over front. So change him to the 3 tech. Drop that in. You've got your 2i. You've got your 5. You've got your Will. Got your Mike. Got your Sam. He's outside right here. So boom. There's my overlook. So once you start running those reports in Huddle, DB Sport XOs, whatever it is you're doing, you can start to expedite this process. And now it's just a matter of bang, 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 knocking those out and creating those different looks and being able to draw that. You know, create things on the front end and as soon as you're going, and now it can just expedite that process in the back end. So I hope you guys are getting, you know, a couple good ideas from this and being able to utilize these. The last one that we're going to create is essentially your pass hit chart. So I'm going to go right back into it, and then I'm going to grab what I want to do is make my design for this and go to my orientation and choose landscape. And then now I want to go right back to my 6-up field essentially. And I'm going to utilize this, go Control A, Control C, drop this in, and then Control R will rotate that shape as well. Just extend that out. Okay. So now I've got my 1, 2, 3, and 4. We'll distribute those horizontally because I took out that title section. All righty. So now I'm going to go right back to my web templates, drop in my field, and then depending on those boxes. So let me get one that's better looking. Andy, how are we doing on questions?
We're in good shape. You got to mesmerize. No questions.
Hope you guys are still awake. 1, 2, and 3. There we go. I need one more in there. We want 9 boxes. All righty. So now if I go right back and I grab that high school field, well, I can drop that in. Well, now I just need to adjust that size just a little bit, make it fit right here. Well, now you can start building out your hit chart. So once you've got that information, you just grab that down and distance information like you had back on your scouting report, or I'm sorry, on your scout card. Bring that in and then adjust that down at the top. So I've got a couple other objects I had selected here. So we'll remove that. Push your field up towards the top right there so you got a little bit more room. You can adjust that line. Okay, so now I've got my field, I got my D&D information, so I'm just going to drop that in down here at the bottom. And then you've got your play box here as well. So now you start utilizing this and building it out to essentially take this and utilize just a nice little pass hit chart that you can then take that information and start to use each week as it goes through. And being able to just take that and run with it and make sure that, you know, now you're giving yourself a nice little hit chart that you just created on Visio. You can either draw it within Visio, you can print it out for those old hats. It's just the whole thing is just being able to create those items and making sure that, You know, you can take what you do once and just keep building off of that. So it's just all about building that one box and making sure that that's correct and going from there. So then now you've got your nice little hit chart that you're going to use on Sundays. But shoot, you can print this thing off and then use it on game day. You know, you're used to working in this and drawing it fast. Have this sheet for the guys in the box. You know, when you start drawing up third down routes during a game, you're going to really get a nice little advantage in seeing what people are doing in certain tendencies. Have a sheet that's just third down. Have another sheet that's your openers, and just being able to track that. So you're not only using this sheet on Sundays for evaluation, but now you put it in your playbook. You can put it in your game book for Sundays and Saturdays. Doesn't make a difference. But just utilizing what you're doing across the platform for all of those, and just thinking about how you can make your life simpler by creating those documents instead of hand drawing them every day. But that is, I hope you got some good nuggets in terms of that right there. Just your run, pass, hit charts. We went through probably 10, 15 different documents. I hope you got some really good ideas there. One of the things